everybody. Welcome to the Synergy Music Hour. This is our second episode, and it's a pretty cool one. We like to have 4 people on our panel. This time we have our cellist.
Love being here.
Thank you for making it. It's really awesome. My name is Justice Branscombe. I'm one of our violinists.
Josh Estrada, I also play the violin.
Alex Navarro, I play viola.
Eric Schaefer, I play the saxophone.
Yes,
Don't believe anything ever comes out of Eric's mouth. It's unwise.
I'm sorry, that was okay.
No, don't apologize. You make things lively. That's why we're so happy.
Anyhow, he's
Yeah.
a cellist, as
He
we've
is.
already outlined.
As
so
we have said,
everybody should
he
know
is
that.
our cellist, and now you will know. You probably won't see him for another 10 episodes, but anyway, you know he is here now. All right, so last week we opened things up by talking about rosining. We're all string players here, so I thought it would be nice, I don't know if you guys think so too, we could maybe talk about tuning. And the thing though,
Yeah, tuning.
Josh, stop that. Tuning is important, right?
Very important.
I mean,
It's
Eric.
also annoying.
Okay, yes, it is annoying. You know, if you have gut strings, they can go out of tune all the time. Your pegs can get stuck. All kinds of really annoying things.
That's why I use artificial strings, because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Cutting those corners, if it's gonna make your experience better, I say go for it. Eric, before we started recording, you were talking a little bit about just intonation, right? Just kind of the concept of it.
Right.
And yeah, you want to tell our audience a little bit about what you were saying?
Well, I mean, intonation is just, it's such a fascinating topic. We were talking about what it's like to play in tune with yourself and what it's like to play in tune with your group. So, like in the morning or whenever you take your instrument out of the case and you start your musical endeavor for the day, what are you trying to tune to? And so it can be a variety of different things, I think. One of the things that we were talking about tonight, and the challenge that we have in this particular concert, is playing in tune with a keyboard instrument. And that's fixed, so
Right.
we don't have
An equal tempered instrument.
we don't have the luxury of exploring intonation outside of that, because it's just there's no way of changing it.
Right.
It makes it easier and harder. It's like, you know what is in tune, and you can hear it. Because sometimes when you're in a string group, it's a little harder, because if, like, you know.
But you know, when we're playing in our quartet, for example, we do have a luxury in this realm here, because we can explore intonation a little bit more.
And there's a word for that, right? For the not equal tempered intonation.
It's like expressive, is that what you said, John?
I mean, some people would say expressive. I don't know if this is like an official term, but I mean, some people would like what? Well, I don't know. Some people would say just out of tune, right? But I mean, you know, there is, I think, kind of a psychoacoustic thing that goes on with certain intervals where it's like, even though it's mathematically correct, it's like it still doesn't sound right. Yeah. So you sort of bend it a little bit to, you know, get it right where you want it. So, you know. One
of the things that we were talking about was the obsession with and we all know what that tuner is like, with that green light. I'm obsessed with it. I find that, like, if I have a ceiling fan on, that just destroys everything.
Sure.
I would rather sweat bullets and have a green light than have a ceiling fan playing, messing with my intonation.
You mean on the app, right? When you or on
in the room.
An actual tuner? No, I mean green light. I mean just getting that.
We were joking around about maybe having an application that just starts giving you $20 bills when the green light's on for 10 seconds at a time.
Wow, that would be wonderful if it actually
make that app.
Yeah. I don't know. An app
I would
that's actually
end
going to generate real money.
I would actually end up having to
I think
pay
we've been
the
up too long.
application.
That 3-hour rehearsal really did a number on us. Oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, the intonation for me is just, when you talk about what your role is and whatever your musical environment is, intonation just kind of changes quite a bit.
Yeah.
So if we're playing like a Mozart quartet, the cello part is predominantly, the 5-1 thing, with a little bit of other things going on, but
5-1 being a chord progression.
Yeah, and I'm not to interrupt you, Eric, but
So-
I don't want any of our listeners to be freaking out here because this is pretty advanced stuff that we're talking about when it comes to tuning and intonation.
but
There's assumptions that we're making,
Right.
but yeah.
but the basics of good intonation start
Yeah,
with good tuning.
With tuning, right? And particularly what? I mean, we're tuned 5 notes apart, right? We're tuned 5
In
fifths,
fifths, yeah.
5 letters in
Or
fifths.
fourth.
how do you
Or
tune?
fourths.
Well, if you're
in a double bass
or
player, right?
or a viol of any kind.
Or thirds.
Sure, ukulele.
Guitar.
And guitar has fourths, fifths, and thirds, so.
Well, how do you tune?
Ukulele tunes, yeah.
How do you tune, Justice?
Oh, well, generally I'll take my A, which we generally think of as
Yeah, let's all get our
440. But someone got what an actual A 440.
Something far more interesting.
I like the Netagen.
I like the old
Let's-
school.
Oh, okay.
How do you
What is that?
So you can either do it like this. I oftentimes will just put it up against my ears. I mean, it's really loud. I mean,
Of course, our audience won't be able to hear that, but. Ooh, yeah.
Does that have a fine tuner?
What's that?
So you can put it on
Nope,
the bridge,
There we go.
but I don't think the bridge is as
Oh,
good.
try it one more time.
But I think it's better down here.
The camera might be open.
Yeah, it depends. You can put it on the baseboard too, but
Okay.
yeah,
That's one of the things that we were talking about earlier as well, is that the resonance of the instrument.
Because it's wood, it's made out of wood, so
That's-
the sound vibrations are going to be generated and travel through the entire thing. So one of the properties of sound, basically, pitch, I should say, is when you play a note, if you find a certain,
It wasn't even.
when you find,
It's like G sharp.
what, when you,
wasn't even close.
what, whoa, wait, let's check this. So the tune, or the tuning fork, the tuning fork, what are we checking? Are we gonna check the tuning fork to?
Sure.
I didn't
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you just
Let's do it.
tap
Let's
it
see.
and put it on my phone?
Let's see what we got.
Hey,
We should-
There it is. Yeah,
we should
actually,
check.
that came.
That's right. That's correct.
So there's this thing called the overtone series, which essentially, if there's a pitch that's being played, there are a number of higher and lower frequencies that are also happening at the same time. You need a scientific instrument to measure this.
Some people would call it a sympathetic vibration.
Right. The sympathetic, right?
Sympathetic vibration.
Yes. So for instance, this pitch down here, the C string on the bottom. So this first finger here is a D. There is a D string because that's so.
You're
There's
gonna
a
get the
D.
A too.
Right, and this can also be repeated on the A. If I do it on the D, the camera, as I really dig into the note, you should be able to see the vibration of the string and that D as well. So same thing here, A.
The cool thing about the low D, which I
Yes.
know about the cello as well, is that not only do you get the overtone from the D string should be vibrating, but also the A string too.
Exactly.
That's the
Yeah.
most sonorous note, in my opinion, on the cello.
That's at least a point that you can start in terms of developing your ear for this kind of thing. And
But I
when
know first you have to get your instrument in tune to do that.
Okay, this is true. You should hear, that's pretty close. You should hear this almost buzz of, I don't know, of
Well, yeah, it's something you kind of have to train your ear for.
Yeah,
it's hard to
but
describe.
if it is a little bit tricky to describe. But if I artificially play it off
Boom to it or something like
like this, hopefully the audio can pick that up.
Oh yeah, it's definitely out of tune. Yeah.
There's sort of a wave almost,
like a
if
weird
you will,
kind of like- yeah.
right, and that sort of flattens out when it gets into the
Right.
space that you want.
We're talking about tuning.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we deal with when we're rehearsing and so forth is like, what happens when you arrive to a chord and it just doesn't sound right? What's the first thing that you do?
that. You listen to the bass line.
Well, maybe
the-
not. I mean,
Go from the bass note.
Yes, I think we have to look at both directions, right?
Yeah, but
First
the chord
the
is
bass.
built. The chord is built from the bottom.
Right.
there are some musicians that are out there that are very
No, you tune
convinced.
to the lower note of nothing.
There's some musicians that are very convinced that they're actually playing very much in tune, so they'll play louder. I feel like what
I
you
do that.
should do when you get to a chord that's been jeopardized, bad intonation,
Yeah.
is to back off and really
Yes.
re-evaluate what is actually going on.
So what's the process that you go through if you're adjusting? Because what I do is like, if I actually have to tune to other people, I'm gonna go with my stand partner,
Yeah.
and then from there try to unify in the section, and then adjust to a different section. Like it sort of spreads out in a circle.
I try to latch onto any tempered instrument that's in the orchestra. So if there's a piano.
What if you don't have that
or
luxury?
If you don't have that luxury, then I listen to the bass.
Yeah.
I listen to the bass. I listen to cellos, or I listen to the basses, or I listen to the trombone, or anybody else that has the lowest note. Because I mean, if you're not in tune with them, then the whole thing's gonna be a mess.
Chords are going to sound horrible. Yeah.
So
Bass line being just slightly out is going to be really hard on the ears.
Having a tempered instrument in an ensemble, like that's.
and we should probably explain. Maybe we should explain what tempered means, because I think even like.
I think that's a good idea, Josh. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Go for it.
before we had like something like a piano,
Mhm.
we would have intonation would be far more subjective, right? Because you had like for instance like a violin, you can tune those strings anywhere.
Right.
But so back in the Baroque, I think right around the period that Bach was doing things, they started codifying like intervals and chords and creating like this whole like system around it, and so. These were based upon specific vibrations. So, back then it would have been like, what, A would have been like 414 or something like that,
Probably,
414
yeah. Maybe
vibrations per
lower,
second.
maybe
Now we're at 440 vibrations per second. But so that can change, but what doesn't change is the relationship between the intervals, right?
Right.
So, so that's a tempered instrument. So an example of a tempered instrument would be like a piano or even to a degree,
All the chromatic
Harpsichord
notes are
too, right?
equally
Right.
spaced apart.
even to a degree, I would say a guitar is a tempered instrument because of the frets.
Because of
Yeah.
the frets.
So,
But then that means when we tune our
but they can bend,
instrument
they can actually bend that
with
sound.
our
so.
ear, that's
Yeah.
not tempered, and
Right.
our strings start automatically out of tune.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's all very subjective. If you're playing a piece of music that's composed in A major
Mm-hmm.
with your three sharps, and you decide as a group, like maybe the mood is a little bit dimmer, you can actually tune your instruments down a little bit, and all of a sudden it ends up being like what, A flat major?
Right.
Oh, not A flat major. It's still A major, but it's down a half step. I'm sorry, that was me being stupid. But that's the fun we can have with intonation.
Unless you have perfect pitch, and then you're not having fun.
Well, I think if you have perfect pitch, you're probably never going to have fun.
Right.
Oh,
Because
dear.
some orchestra is going to be sharper than your feeling of
I
A, and
have
some
a
other orchestra
student
is
at
going
one
to
of
be
the high
flat.
schools that I work at. She has perfect pitch, and I've asked her about it. And she's like, it really is a curse. I mean, it's not a pleasant
Yeah.
life to have perfect pitch. And I said, well, I'm really happy I'm not you.
Oh dear.
What the teacher of the year.
Yeah.
Award, right?
Don't listen to anything this guy says.
Absolutely don't. Most of my students realize that.
Unless he's talking about intonation.
Especially when I'm talking about intonation.
I do want to add one more thing about, like, you know, at an advanced level with intonation. This idea with expressive intonation, right? That when you're, I think it's not entirely when you're playing with other people, but even in a melody itself. I think it's by your ear.
Isn't that a game called like Limbo?
That's a limbo thing, yeah.
But if it's
music,
by
it's
ear,
musical limbo.
But if it's by ear, everybody's gonna have a different.
You're gonna have a
But
different standard.
but the situation though, I think is specifically if it's a solo or something where maybe it is like just a small group or something like that. Where, I mean, because in that kind of music, that's the expected. They will sound out of tune if it's not low enough. If you're not emphasizing.
Well, here's
that.
a case in point for this. Is like what Dance Macabre I think is.
Yes, that's
where
on.
the violin is
Yeah.
tuned differently
Yeah.
for the tritone.
And that's Scordatura.
I did that a few months
And
back.
I feel like the
Yeah.
intention of the composer there was Sanson, right?
Right.
Is to make it sound as awful as humanly possible. That's fine, perfect.
Yeah, that is not a nice sound. It's great, and I think it about covers it. So it's about time. I think we need to talk a little bit about news, what's going on in the classical world right now, and I think I heard that.
Oh, there is something interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but I think it's really exciting. Hilary Hahn's taking a year off from her career.
I think I heard that too. I read about it. That's awesome.
I think that's kind of neat. You take a little, you know, I mean, it's nice to take a break.
Well,
Yeah, no, I
she's
mean,
world-class soloist, has, you know, been playing non-stop concerts all the time, concertizing all over the world. That's going to
Reasonable.
be, yeah. In fact, I think it was on her Instagram, 10 years ago, she also took a little break. I don't think it's long. I think this is the longest one that she's done, or possibly a new way of thinking about it.
Me personally, I feel like it's going to be amazing to see what she comes back at. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
she really can.
little time to sort of like she's already an exciting soloist, so yeah, just see what
Yeah,
happens
you guys,
after a year
have
off.
you guys seen some of her, like, some of the behind the scenes video stuff that she does, little practice segments and just like.
I'm obsessed with the hula hoop thing that she's been doing with.
Oh,
Two
Two Set.
Have you
Speaking of
seen
Two Set.
that?
Oh
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
Shout out to Two Set.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We know you guys will love us because we're always embracing violas.
That's right.
But no, I love the Ling Ling references. It's great.
Oh, yeah.
Ling Ling 40-hour workout.
I mean,
Congratulations.
before we move on with that,
Yeah.
I mean, I was actually just thinking about this might elongate the conversation, but
We
It's
like,
just, it,
we like stretching things out a little bit.
well, I don't know.
Hopefully not too much.
I just wonder what it's going to be like for her. I mean, because when you try to understand like what goes on in her mind when she's constantly on tour, playing, you know, Tchaikovsky and Sibelius and so forth, and having a break from doing that, I think might make it a little easier for her to come back and be like, just refreshed, recharged.
Definitely.
Old
What-
teacher of mine that would try to instill the idea of the Sabbath principle in me.
The Sabbath
The
principle.
Sabbath principle is that he always demanded that we would take one day of the week off. It was like,
Right.
I was like, one day of the week don't play.
But
It's a reset,
Actually, yeah, it would reset. It's like it actually helps.
Talking about long-term things, I wanted to give an opportunity to wish my parents a 47th anniversary.
Oh, that's
Can you
awesome.
believe that? 47 years of marriage.
That's huge.
That's
That's
just a little longer than I've been alive.
Whoa! Are we divulging our ages now?
I don't care.
I'm 28 and a half.
I'm gonna stay.
What, did you say 28 and a half? 28,
Forever.
Four
Oh, I-
Yeah. Much better.
Happy
Yeah.
anniversary, Chuck and Sherry. Everybody here loves you.
Yes.
Yes. Happy anniversary. And we have a new game for you guys this week. and it's called Composer in a Bowl.
This scares me.
Pretty straight.
I don't know what's gonna happen.
I don't know what possessed us to come up with this game, but it's going to be an experiment. We
I'm
really don't know what's
mortified.
going to happen.
Petrified.
Yes, what we did is we cut up a whole bunch of composers' names, we put them in a bowl, which is right here, conveniently.
Gosh, here we go.
I don't even actually
So-
know what are the rules of this game.
I don't even know yet. I
Just
don't think
grab
we made them
a
up.
name it and
We're just gonna
find
try
out
it.
what
We're
happens.
just gonna tie
So
it.
we'll
We're
take,
gonna talk
we're gonna
everything.
randomly grab a composer. I think there's like 15 different names, or maybe even 20 different names in here.
Hopefully there's
And-
more than 20. I mean, there's more than 20 composers.
Oh well, this was a last minute list
trying to keep
that
it-
we
Okay, all right, just
came
grab it.
up
Let's see
with.
what happens.
We're,
All right.
This is gonna be.
Josh, well, no, let Josh. He's right next to you.
Oh,
Josh,
you're right,
yeah.
because I'm probably like cheating
Yeah,
sometimes.
you're,
So let's have.
you're a cheater. We all know you're a cheater.
God.
What do we got?
All right,
What do we got?
who do we get?
We have got corn gold.
Oh! I don't know.
Oh.
All right. Well,
Oh.
this
Wonder
might be a
Kid.
short segment.
Wonder Kid.
No, okay,
I
all
mean,
right, all right, all right.
So we do
No, he's
know
very
a
famous.
fair amount. Oh, he's
Yeah,
super
he-
famous.
Super famous. I mean, he was a child prodigy.
Yes.
And,
Maybe on the level of Mozart.
I-
All right, I've got a
That-
story about corn gold.
About the corn gold. Yeah.
Okay, so not trying to name names or anything like this, but
Of course.
it's a story. The corn gold cello concerto was programmed for a symphony that I really, really respected. Still do, by the way. I really respect. The cellist had to back out last minute, and it was like I felt like I was heartbroken because I really wanted to hear that.
Sure.
The corn gold music is it's like that juxtaposition of Hollywood and symphonic and classic.
Late rap.
It's
Right.
like it's such a unique composition technique. I think corn
Yeah.
gold was just really embraced that that difference, you know.
I think he was a genius, and the thing about, I'm gonna let you finish your story here. I just
Our
want to
story's
let.
over.
That really is the end of it. Or
That's
is-
it.
I was
Oh.
heartbroken that I didn't get to hear the cello
So
concerto.
I really didn't get to hear it. Oh, I thought you were gonna say like someone came in the last minute, a sub,
Or
and
you
so
played
it
a
happened,
solo.
or yeah. Oh, that's sad. That's a really sad story.
So what are some pieces that we've all played by corn gold?
Well,
I
I studied his violin concerto.
Yeah,
you
played
know,
his violin
some-
concerto,
haven't
and-
performed it.
You played in the
Yeah.
section or you played the solo with the orchestra?
I think I did some stuff by him with that Golden State Pops Orchestra, like years and years ago.
Oh, cool.
I played
so, like, some of
a
his film scores.
clarinet quintet.
He
By
has a
corn
clarinet.
gold.
Yeah.
Oh,
One
okay.
movement clarinet quintet.
Oh wow! As soon as this podcast is over, I need to look that up.
We're looking
because
that up
I'm
immediately.
always looking for new music, and yeah, corn gold is great. Eric, I'm really glad you mentioned that he was Hollywood and traditional or whatever, because that was something that bothered him during his life. Not maybe him personally, but it was an issue for his career, because a lot of his critics were like, oh, he's not a serious
Not a serious
composer because
composer.
he's just writing this Hollywood music, which I think is
No, not at
completely
all. I mean,
ridiculous.
That's such
he
a
was-
crazy accusation.
Yeah, it is, but it was something that was present.
Well, I mean, at least when I was younger,
During his
I'm
life.
the oldest one here. I remember
You
like
say that in such an ominous
This can be
way.
this one.
the oldest one here. No, but I mean, I remember when I was coming up, it was like my teachers and anybody that was like serious about classical music was like, oh, film music.
I'm
it's
glad-
like, no,
Yeah.
I'm glad that that's changing because
Yes.
it's
Yeah, but
not.
corn gold was so solid with that.
Yeah, I know. He's
So what are some
Yeah.
movie scores that he wrote for?
That I don't know, but I mean,
No.
all of his music
Man,
sounds like
He did write a lot of Hollywood movie scores, and even if you listen to some of his serious pieces, like Violin Concerto or the Cello Concerto, which I'm also not super familiar with, but so here's a good question. What's your favorite recording of the Corn Gold Cello Concerto?
I don't have one. I mean,
No.
it's. I'm actually just not even all that familiar with that piece.
Oh, okay.
But we talk about corn gold, and this is an interesting thing we can Los Angeles, with the history, like, I mean, Stravinsky came out to Los Angeles to try to be a Hollywood composer,
Right.
and was paid to do so, but never really did. I mean, he wrote some silent film stuff,
Oh yeah.
but they're like the Korngold thing. Like, I just don't know his music well enough to really. I mean, the clarinet quintet, that sounds awesome. I would really like to hear it.
Yeah, I could see that being really interesting because his music, for those of you that haven't heard a lot of it, it's so lush. There's this incredible late romanticism in it, kind of almost an American, it's sort of like a German, because he was German.
His first name is also.
Yes, Eric Wolfgang Korngold. Kind of fitting that his name. They had Wolfgang.
Eric Wolfgang.
Right, Eric Wolfgang
Korngold.
Right, exactly. There's almost like a golden honey.
So you said Korngold.
Wow, I walked right into that one.
And with that, perhaps we should move on to the next composer.
Oh, wait, do we have multiple composers?
Are we doing another one?
Yeah,
Oh,
somebody else
cool.
needs to choose one.
I like
All right,
this.
Alex,
We'll pass
Alex.
the bowl around. All right.
Get in the honey pot.
Where is this bowl?
Well, it's right here. Eric, names. There we go. We'll just get. What do we get?
I don't know if it's written in English or, I guess.
Is it upside down?
I guess it's Shostakovich.
That's my chicken scratch. Oh, is it say Shasta?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Shasta.
I was like, I wasn't sure if it was written in
I was
English.
shorthanding.
Shasta.
I started shorthanding there.
Don't you want the Shasta? I don't know what that is.
I don't know. That's a Fanta commercial, I think, Eric.
I'm sorry, that's
bad.
terrible.
You're turning him into a Fanta commercial.
It's terrible.
He would not like that.
Green Man?
I mean,
well,
this is a composer that I think that everybody's got probably a lot to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
About.
So did he write
So.
that?
The thing that
Coffee.
fascinates me about
Maybe.
Shostakovich is like, the repetitiveness, the DSCH, and how often that motive appears in his music.
But it never gets old.
Wait,
But
Eric, I think you should explain
DSCH.
DSCH. Right. But what? Right.
But it
I mean,
happens. It happens not only in.
It's his musical signature.
It's not.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like his tattoo on.
Yeah.
But the thing that's fascinating to me is that it's not just in his symphonic works; it's in his chamber works. It's in everything that he wrote.
Yeah.
But it's not just that. It's like there's also rhythmic motives that happen that are repetitive, and so yum bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-da-dum. This happens in a lot of his pieces.
Yeah.
Reused.
Reused.
Never quite gets old. It's almost like his own character is in the music.
Yeah,
I was
he's inserting
just
himself into the music, right? Rachmaninoff did this too. So
I made the mistake of when I was trying to learn the second Shostakovich cello concerto of being like very aggressive with the yum bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-da-dum. Now I've changed my opinion about how it is, like maybe as a little bit more of a jester.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because he was fun.
But you see how
like
how
really
different that can be. Like his music is so amazingly. You can approach it with yum bum 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 ba-da-dum ba-da-dum, or
Right. Can completely change the feeling.
and it's tremendous.
Oh, of course.
And
Probably one of my favorite.
the fifth symphony,
Compositor.
like all right, so like as string players, like the entire last page is like playing like all A's.
Bum bum bum. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that symphony has one of my favorite slow movements of all time.
That also has, I feel, the hardest excerpt for orchestral auditions comes from the first movement of his Fifth Symphony. Now, a lot of people know Shostakovich's Fifth Symphony, they just don't realize it.
Yeah.
because there's a famous band,
Oh,
I don't know,
yes.
from the 80s or the 70s who used the opening of Shostakovich Fifth Symphony in one of their songs.
Yeah.
Do you know?
And I think
It's like the,
there's more.
it's like the Ramones, I think. Or,
Okay.
Really?
Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun-dun. Really?
Is it the
I
Ramones?
think it's one of, it's like a band like
Well,
that.
maybe we can look.
I
at
think
Is it
I think
Ramones?
I sense
Yeah,
a correction coming on here.
I mean, the fun part for me with Shostakovich is like how diverse it is.
Yeah.
It really, like, he is one of those composers that can really challenge the performer to evoke a variety of emotions and really take you on a journey.
Right.
It challenges the audience too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
Yeah, well,
So-
I mean, like the Seventh Quartet, for example. I feel like that's like machine gun fire, you know,
Mhm.
Or the eighth where they have the the knocking on the door.
yeah, that's like Bieber.
Almost, yeah, I know.
The Baroque fever,
Yeah.
not the modern one.
No, but he's definitely probably one of my favorite all-time composers. I think it's interesting. I worked with a lot of Russian violinists down in Los Angeles, and they would tell stories about him every once in a while. I wish I could remember this guy's name, but he told me once that he played for Shostakovich, and he used to read string quartets, and he would go and he went and read a string quartet that he had written, and he said that like throughout the process of him listening to them play it, he like kind of broke down into tears, and it was like for him it was like this very deeply personal like story that he's telling. So I feel like you can feel the conviction of like how much he was what he was trying to say. I think that he said his symphonies were meant to be tombstones for the unburied millions.
I've
Wow.
heard that statement before. Yeah.
Wow, that, yeah.
Yeah, he was probably the most profound Russian composer during that period. I mean, intentionally, like what he would try to do is, do things that are really serious and make a statement.
Well, also trying to like fly under the radar and keep from getting
Because he kind of
shipped
had
off.
to. Yeah, I mean, he was in real danger
Yeah.
many times.
In a sense, I feel like Shostakovich is probably one of the most successful composers with getting the point across, because he had so much to say,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is very clear.
It can get you to a pretty dark place, actually.
Yeah, let's try to avoid that.
Yeah.
So what is our favorite Shostakovich piece everybody has?
Ooh.
That's a hard one.
I think
It is-
Fifth Symphony
it's
is kind of like the
Okay,
most,
so if you had to pick one
It's an
movement,
easy answer.
it's
for
prolific.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
that's the one.
Yeah.
I would pick his first piano concerto.
Okay.
Wow.
It has a certain,
Yeah.
I guess, electronic or some sort of other quality in the sound that he's producing in this composition.
Almost
With the first one,
almost like a prepared piano kind of feel, sort of.
just
Where there's something.
yeah, there's a different sound.
Yeah.
As soon as it opens up, there's a different sound.
It's funny that, like, as a chamber music group, that we're not even talking about as chamber works. Or
Well,
I mean, but
it would be a disappointment if.
well, for me, I mean, yeah, my favorite work of his, and there's a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I love his symphonies. I love his string quartets. I love
Yes.
just about everything he's written. But my favorite thing I think that I've heard of his is his violin sonata.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Sonata.
And
So there's a
Yes.
viola sonata, which is even that's some shit.
Like, the last movement of
Ooh.
that last movement of the violin
Sorry.
sonata, it's like there's like a musical like mental breakdown in the middle of it. I feel like the piano just is like it's just everything is falling apart.
Shostakovich had this like that. I'm glad you said that breakdown.
Yeah.
I feel like he had successfully like wrote like what it's like to completely collapse on paper.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's fascinating to
Yeah.
me. I like just this is the end of the world, and notes are flying all over the place, and
Well, what he was experiencing was the end of the world.
Yeah,
It was.
Yeah, I mean, his country was
Nobody
kind of
knew.
collapsing around
Yeah.
him. So,
but to have the
He had to-
Well, it wasn't collapsing. It was going along, but he was,
Yeah.
you know, his life was becoming more and more constrained. You know?
Yeah.
So,
But to have
Well-
the ability to actually put that down on paper, like it's clear.
it takes, yeah.
I've been obsessed with this concept of you guys when we started understanding what DHX was. And like how all these notes just come together in this like weird.
Did you know Deep Note, that the name of that thing? Actually, the musical score became public like fairly recently. You can actually go online and look at the score for Deep Note, and you see the low D at the beginning and the high D at the top, and then the waves sort of merge, and it says, I think it says something along the lines of vary between these pitches up to this point, and it is measured out. It's actually measured out, and then of course
I feel it should be a poster.
it goes into that chord at the final.
It's a
final
poster
moment.
every band director needs to have in their band.
I want to get that on a shirt.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want that.
Everything like that. Like, Shostakovich just, I hope we can all agree on this, that he really was successful in conveying like what struggle, pain, loss.
Also,
I mean, it's just-
also mischievous and funny too.
Yeah,
Like
we're not
comedy.
really
Like,
talking.
he's really
We're
good
not
at
really
comedy.
talking about his lighter side.
Oh, he's
There's-
so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, we did at the very beginning, right?
Yeah, he's,
But,
his lighter fare is quite funny. he wrote in some, I think a jazz duet or something, wasn't it?
Oh, that's pretty cool.
A jazz suite.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it
there
was
is a
recently
jazz
discovered.
suite.
It
Oh,
was recently
yes.
rediscovered. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so.
Well, Eric, I'm going to make you happy.
Oh, you
Because
are.
chamber music, yeah, because I would say either the string quartet number 8 or I believe it's the piano trio in C minor.
Oh, that was
Is-
the quintet.
Is? Wait, is
No,
it?
that's
yeah.
G minor.
No, I'm pretty sure it's trio. I think it's the piano trio in C minor would be probably my favorite. Yeah, probably.
So who is our next composer? I feel
Oh my
like
gosh, we
Shostakovich
still have
has
one
gotten some
more?
great love.
Oh wow,
No, we
do.
got 2 more because.
Oh my goodness. Okay, you're right. So who has the
Give
box?
this man a
Who has the
bowl.
bowl? I don't. Oh, how does it keep ending up over here?
Does he keep setting it?
Alex, why don't you carry it over to? I'm
I'll just grab one here.
tired.
I've really. Oh my gosh.
Who'd you
Oh,
get?
who'd you
Okay,
get?
well, this is a good one.
Okay.
I think we're all going to be very, very excited about this one.
Who?
Okay.
I'm not going to tell you. It's Berlioz.
Berlioz.
Oh,
Berlioz.
yeah.
Well, I mean, as
We
a,
do
as
have
a
a lot of
violist,
things.
you must, you know.
Yes, we have a lot of things
Harold
we can
Idiot.
say
I
about.
don't really care for that piece.
Really? As a violist, you
I-
don't?
yeah,
But
I
it was
feel-
written for you.
Yeah.
Why would
Just-
you?
But I feel like
that?
Paganini didn't real quite like it either.
Yeah, of course he hated it.
And I think it has to do with the whole concept that there's an orchestra and it's not really a solo, it's like you're removed from the picture.
Yeah. It's like texture that's sort
Yeah.
of being added over
Yeah.
the orchestra, which has all of the melodies, all of the harmonies, all of the
Yeah.
interesting parts are in the orchestra. The viola basically gets
It was
this.
certain-
You get to
I had a teacher
explore
that
C
said-
major chords and
That
literally
That
note by
means-
note.
that piece is meant for somebody who's really good looking because you don't want
Harold in Italy.
you don't want to sit there for however long with all those rests and be ugly.
Wow.
You have to
Yeah.
stand there and look pretty. So that's part of the solo. Is
The only two things
It's-
that I
it's-
really like to talk about Berlioz is
Okay.
the the octobass. Do you guys know about this?
The octobass.
that's an
Eight.
Educate
Eight
people.
bass. Yes. Time to educate.
Time to educate people.
This is insane. I think it has, only 3 strings. I'm not sure.
How
But
is something with
It
eight
is
have 3?
giant.
it is like 2 times the size of an actual contrabass,
Okay.
or what do you call it?
There's an example on
Yep.
YouTube.
You gotta
yeah.
stand on a stool to play this
Oh my
thing.
gosh.
The way that I look at
Evil
Berlioz
superhero.
is like
It
this is a guy.
does.
This is a guy that writes for an Octobasse, and he also writes "March to the Scaffold," which is my personal favorite. When I was a kid, being introduced to the idea, like, oh yeah, these notes. That's when the head falls off the guillotine.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that's messed up.
There's the drum beat is the
Yeah.
bottom of the head
Jump, yeah.
hitting right hitting the
Yeah.
ground. Yeah.
So I mean, like that rhythmic and it's
Followed by the I think G major chord, the happy chord, and right after.
Now,
the
that's a
moment-
composer that I would like to party with.
Oh, that, I'm sure
Yeah,
interesting
guy to hang out with,
interesting
definitely.
party with for sure.
And the example on YouTube of the Octobasse, I know that guy. I never cared to look at the video, and then like 3 days ago, I decided to look at the video, and I was like,
You know him from school.
what?
Where did you know him from?
I'm friends with his younger sister, Lindsay Pearson,
Oh.
and her older brother. That's the guy who's demonstrating the Octobasse
Wow.
on YouTube.
Wow.
I've never
Small
seen
world.
one in person, an Octobasse. Have you?
Nope. No.
I had heard the term before, but I didn't
Yeah.
really know what it was. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, I learned something today.
And
Thank
more
you.
things to look up. I
Yeah.
think we're just racking up the things. We're like 5 different things we gotta look up now. It's
I
just,
know.
Octobasse.
So many
Well,
Well,
things.
this is what
to-
happens when you
so
know
many things to
when
learn.
you sit around and just shoot
I-
the.
And it
I
just
don't-
goes to show, no matter how many decades you spend in classical music, there's always
I want to see
deeper.
John Williams
Yes.
write a concerto for
Octobasse.
Oh my goodness.
It's like that
I'm
lick.
Wow.
I'm so into that.
It's like that lick from what do you call it? Harry Potter.
That would be amazing. Concerto for Octobasse. It would have to consist of like only 3 notes.
Well, if it's written by John Williams, it's going to be memorable.
Yeah.
We will. Those 3 notes, we're just going to be saying them over and over and over again.
I mean, not that I want to get into another composer or anything.
No, we
like that,
do need to do that. But before we go on, I just wanted to ask you about, because there is something very interesting about Berlioz. A lot of composers have their own unique style and whatever, but it's like among the Romantics, Berlioz
Yeah.
is so, because of his endings and some of his harmonic transitions. Where did he come up with that? Because it's so unique.
I
and
think he was from
interesting.
Bars.
I think
Personally.
in San
I
Francisco,
think he was from Barsoom.
Barsoom.
in San Francisco in an opium den.
Maybe
Literally.
there's some
Alright, let's look at
That's
Berlioz
true.
in a more traditional sense. But
Yeah.
like he didn't mess around by writing string trios and stuff. Like everything he
Oh, he
did
was
was like
symphonic,
large.
symphonic to the max.
Like he was like, yeah, we need more octabass,
Right, exactly.
which is something I've never heard
And more
somebody say
cowbell.
out loud.
Timpani.
got a fever.
Oh yes, there we go. And the only prescription is a second timpani.
Well, yeah, think about the 2 sets of timpani that are
Uh-huh.
a part of the orchestration for that. 2
night.
sets of timpani. Who did that before Berlioz?
So who are we on to
Well,
next?
let's see. We got one more.
We got
one
one
more
more.
to pick. So,
Oh,
Those are
we
gonna
got
be
one.
drum roll,
All right.
please.
double drum roll.
Double
Two timpanis.
timpani,
Two
timpani
timpanis.
roll.
We're not gonna do that.
Timpani?
Timpani.
Timpani.
English.
Oh, I got a good one.
Oh
I got.
gosh,
That
I'm
was
scared.
terrible. These are all good.
I'm scared of what's gonna happen next.
So, we've had, we had Shostakovich, with Berlioz, Shostakovich, and I can't remember.
Korngold.
Korngold, of course. Okay, so we have now the Hungarian representation, Bartók.
Oh,
I
wow.
love Bartók.
This is gonna be a fun one.
So we have Hungarian/American because he came over. He came over here,
Yeah, he became an American citizen.
and
Yeah, we just recently played some of his music, actually.
yes, Josh and I
Oh,
did.
the duo.
Yeah, some of his duos, which were originally written for his students, actually.
There's
and
like what? Like there's multiple.
44. There are 44 of these. We
Progressively
played
harder.
5, I believe. Yeah. And
So
not
it's a
just
method.
harder. They also progressively get more and more complex and
Right.
interesting in terms of the harmonies and the melody.
harmonically.
You get more and
Bitonality.
more, right, by tonality, a lot of that enters in later on. Like the very first one, if you listen to it, it's almost like single lines.
It's almost like a children's song or something.
Well, it is,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I actually have read a couple of the first few ones with my she's 9 years old now, I believe, student. I've been working with her only a few months. And she's already,
I think that Bartok duets may have been my first real experience with chamber music, actually.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I played them with my mother when I was growing.
I think
You played those with Nathan too, right?
Yeah, a few years back. Yeah.
That was
They're
great.
I think they're a fantastic introduction to, being able to play with other people,
Yeah.
right? To have that,
Yeah.
the sense of playing.
One of the things that I find
Sing.
interesting about Bartok,
Yeah.
we were just talking about Berlioz and how he looked at things as like a grand way, and it was
Right.
very different and very, it just changed. He influenced large sound.
Right.
Bartok did the most amazing things with his compositions. While he wrote quartets and he wrote chamber music, composed chamber music.
And we have to get into quartets.
But
We have to
one of
talk
the
about
things
those.
that I am infatuated with his concerto for orchestra, and also more importantly the music for strings, percussion, and celeste.
Right.
Like now that is a piece that I think he wrote it was 2 orchestras.
Right. Double, like a double orchestra.
To be like a chamber orchestra or chamber orchestra. So. I like this word prolific that we always use, but I like the fact that the Bartok music for strings, percussion, and celeste really changed like how you could compose for an orchestra.
Yeah.
So it was just really solid.
He was he did a lot of really interesting things. And actually, going back to the duets,
sure.
the thing that interests me about, in addition to like many of the, really cool things that he did compositionally, like the fact that he went through Eastern Europe and recorded all of that music. Because,
Right, they come from folk songs, basically.
Which are
that
no
he-
longer.
And I love that.
Yeah, a lot of them are just
World War
lost.
II came and wiped all those cultures
Yeah.
out, and it's like a lot of that music was just wiped away.
That's
So what we
so
get
amazing.
is hints of what it was
Yeah.
through a classical reinterpretation. So,
I love it. I think
Yeah.
that,
well, and his Romanian folk dances are great too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many
Love that.
amazing things. What's that, Alex?
Alex and I have beef.
Beef?
Here. What is this? What is this beef?
Okay, well, we might as well just get into it.
Okay.
Alex really loves this pop song. Was it rap? I don't know.
Uno.
Uno. Okay. I can't stand it.
But I feel that's the same thing that like Bartok was searching for was, and the same thing for with American, but it's just happening now. It's like
let's
if a
look at
composer was gonna come and try to find our folk music, I think that song would represent one of our folk musics. Like,
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
interesting.
multicultural that's representing America.
That's very interesting,
Yeah, that's
Alex.
But this is like all the composers that we've talked about tonight, from Korngold to Berlioz to
Shostakovich.
Bartok and Shostakovich. Like all these composers did things that were completely out of. They were so unique. They were so creative.
Yeah.
Definitely, for sure.
I feel like that's why
Quartets
it's
is my
not.
favorite.
Yeah, I was gonna say we gotta
Amazing.
talk about quartets for just a little bit at least. They deserve some mention because, I mean, Bernard Herrmann owes a lot to Bartok for the Psycho score because it's
That's
it's either
Wow.
it's either Quartet 3 or 2. I can't remember which one
That's
exactly
the-
right now, but it is yeah. Dum, 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 yeah.
That shower scene.
Shower
the,
scene,
like,
the beginning where she's driving along. I mean, there is so much
Downtown
of that straight
Bakersfield
up.
on Union.
Well, that's interesting too. Yeah, that's another whole story of its own. But the thing about What?
The whole opening of Psycho.
Yeah, she's heading
where she buys the
towards.
car.
She's heading
that
towards
street.
Baker. She's heading
She's
towards
driving
or
down
away
Union.
from Bakersfield.
I've never actually seen Psycho,
well,
but she actually was in Bakersfield.
Never
Yeah, it was
seen
shot on Union.
Psycho?
Never seen
Where she
Psycho.
buys
Well, and
that
the-
car.
Part of that is on Highway
Every-
58, or
Yeah.
is shot on Highway 58. Part of it is supposed to be Highway 58, but it's actually like
And
where
the-
the 178 is now.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were a lot
I
of
just
like,
learned something
juxtapositions.
else new today, and this
That-
time about my
that you haven't
hometown.
seen this movie.
Right.
And Josh, were you gonna say something about the quartets or just Bartok in general?
We're talking about Bartok or Bartok?
Well, we kind of are still talking about
I'm
Bartok.
still talking about Bartok. Well, I mean, I don't know what to say about a quartet. Some of they're genius.
They're-
They're genius. I mean,
yeah.
they kind of remind me a little bit of like almost like proto-heavy metal or something.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
it's
right.
just
There
really
is,
aggressive and
The
just
rhythmic aspect
just
is
really
there.
amazing.
yeah. One of them actually is pretty close to the Master of Puppets introduction.
The
to
Master of
Metallica.
Puppets.
It's
Yeah.
pretty well. I mean, Master of Puppets,
I don't
obviously.
know Master of Puppets.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, Alex, that's the Metallica song. That is anyway.
I don't know.
We're not talking about Metallica right now. But
I mean, Bartok is prolific, and I get that.
Yeah.
But
great.
And he's
Rarely
forward-looking.
do I wake up and say like,
Bartok is forward.
oh, I really need to hear some Bartok quartets today.
I feel like I avoid
Maybe-
Bartok at all costs.
Maybe not early. Why?
It's just not.
You just wait till high tea at around 3 p.m.
Ah,
I
yes.
just want to listen to Vivaldi.
Vivaldi.
Okay. Alex needs to go back a few hundred years.
Nothing wrong with that. Vivaldi's a genius.
I mean,
Oh, he is a
Bartok
genius.
is very situational. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
very
He's-
much maybe in the same way of Shostakovich, but
He's not first thing in the morning, probably, material.
I think it's really like.
Most-
yeah, I'm gonna have a bagel and some
I guess I'm
Bartok.
crazy because I like listening to just about it.
Well, I think
It
that
reminds
because
me of
he has
like-
a breadth of of musical style, there is Bartok for different parts of the day. too.
I interpret.
I'll tell you what's gonna happen
It's
tomorrow.
one.
We'll wake up, we'll have some bagels, Bucks to Huda, Bartok, and then beer, and then
Oh.
breakfast.
Wow. You nailed. That's the 5 B's, I think. There, right? Okay. Actually, just before we go on, the one last thing, because you mentioned the modern thing about, or the modern Uno, right? That's the name of the song.
Oh.
Just that concept of bringing culture into a new place, and Bartok did that, and Dvorak did that, and I just heard, like, I've heard all the Bartok quartets many times, but in one of them in particular, he is quoting Dvorak American Quartet. It's in the same key, and it's Bartok
part of it.
style.
I
think it's the third. I believe
Is it
it's
the
the third quartet. I can't remember which.
Well, we need to
movement.
listen to that.
Maybe we should
Yeah.
program that with the Dvorak string quartet. You know, or
It
the
would be.
American string quartet.
It's just a hint. All right, we got some really good stuff about all these composers, I think, and we're gonna say goodbye. But before we do, we always end every episode with a composer quote. So for tonight, I think because we've been talking so much about composers and influences and various things, that the most appropriate thing to use is Igor Stravinsky. I think we talked him a little bit earlier, but his most famous quote is as follows: "Mediocre composers borrow, great composers steal." It's blunt, but it's true. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks.
Take care. See you next time.
See you next
Good
time.
night.